Today we are finding a percentage of a number. There are a number of steps we need to follow. The first step is to convert the percentage in the question to a decimal. And we do that by dividing the number or the percentage by 100. So for example, if I had 3%, I am going to divide 3 by 100. And you can do that on your calculator. And what you should get is 0.03. Another example is 24%. So to convert to 24% into a decimal, we're going to do 24 divided by 100, and that should be 0.24. So that is our first step. So we've got to convert our percentage into a decimal. We're then going to multiply the two numbers in the question together, and again you can do that on your calculator, and then you're going to add in the units if needed. So for example, if you're trying to find a percentage of a dollar amount, you need to put in the dollar sign. So let's go through the first example. So 5% of 180. The first step is to convert the percentage into a decimal. So if you look at our percentage, it is 5%. And if you remember, the first thing that we're going to do is convert that to a decimal. So 5 divided by 100. And that would give me 0.05. My second step says I need to now multiply the two numbers in our question. So I'm going to multiply the decimal that I just found and 180. So 0.05 times 180. If you don't have a calculator, then you're going to go through the steps of multiplying with decimals, and then we went through that on an earlier lesson. Or you can put these two numbers into the calculator and you should get the answer 9. Now I've just looked at my question and there are no units to include, so my answer is just 9. So 5% of 180 is 9. Let's go through another example. So this time I'm looking at 135% of $60. So my first step is to convert my percentage into a decimal. So I'm going to do 135 divided by 100. And if you put that through the calculator, or if you do division, then you should get the answer of 1.35. My second step is now to multiply my two numbers together. So I'm going to do 1.35 times 60, and again I can put that into my calculator, or I can actually go through and do a working out for that, and my answer is 81. And if you remember, the last step is to include any units, and I can see here that there is a unit, it's a dollar sign, so my answer is 81. I want you to have a quick look at this question. If you have a look, the answer is greater than my original amount, which was $60. Now normally when we say a percentage of something, you normally want a lower number. However, if we look at our percentage is greater than 100, which means we're actually increasing the amount by more than its original amount. So if you ever have a percentage greater than 100, you want to make sure that your answer is greater than the original amount as seen in this question. Okay, let's do the last example. So 10% of $32. So my first step is to convert my percentage into a decimal. So 10 divided by 100, and I should get 0.10. And then I'm going to multiply the two numbers, so 32 and 0.10, which is 10%, times 32, and if I did my calculations, the answer should be 3.2. And the last step is to look at units, and yep, there's a dollar sign, so I've got to make sure I put my dollar sign in there. Is there something that you notice when we do 10% and the answer we got and the original? So if we look, our original is 32 and we wanted to find 10% of it, and my answer is 3.2. That's right. When we have 10% of something, all we're doing is very quickly just moving my decimal point once, right there, because we've got 1 0. So with 10% of anything, all you're doing is moving your decimal point in by 1, and that should be your answer. So remember, the first step is to convert your percentages into decimals. You then multiply that decimal number by the amount that you're looking at finding the percentage of, and then you're going to include any units.